If I'd raised you, I could have made you better. And not some weak, sniveling, starved for attention. But there's no fixing that now. Weak? You. I know. You're a disappointment.
Okay, so maybe it's a little bit of a stretch to call it a complete disappointment, but this episode wasn't as great as I hoped. I really didn't enjoy it. Like, it's not the worst piece of fiction of all time that I've seen. That goes to Thor Love and Thunder, but this episode 5 does feel like a filler. It's like 90% filler and 10% of things that are important that moves the plot forward. Now, what this episode does is it kind of jumps the shark in terms of his editing style of chronological storytelling, and it's basically doing that trope where a big event happens or just a fixed event within the episode happens, and then you have a bunch of side characters that were there, and then after that event happens, you get a flashback of what each of the side characters were doing leading up to that one event that we see in the beginning. Now, other pieces of fiction, such as in recent memory, the Weapons movie did this, where they have a big event happen and they have side characters' perspectives or chapters focused on the side characters and telling us how their journey led them to that event. Now, The Boys does a reversal of that here in this episode, and they basically tell us what's happening with these side characters after the event. So I like this editing style they did with this episode, but the stuff they put in there story-wise kind of doesn't fit where this point of the season is. And the basic plot of this episode is that there's this big meeting with Vought, and they're trying to find a way to make Homelander America's #1 god. So they're gonna call that the Diplomatic Church of America, something like that. And right off the bat, you could tell that half the room agrees with this idea, and that the other half is like, Homelander is crazy, he's lost his mind, I'm not doing this. And especially you can see this with Firecracker's character, which the episode focuses a good portion on. Now, her parts of the episode are part of the 10%. I would say that's the 5 out of 10% of importance in this episode. And we basically just get her backstory. You know, we get reminded that she is a church kid, kind of like how Starlight was a church kid. But she actually had a pastor or father figure who looked after her, fed her dinner and everything. And she basically finds out through him that the church isn't making any money because of this whole Homelander becoming God thing. And she wants to help, but she's just really scared of Homelander. So she's so scared at this point, she's willing to fake it till she makes it here. And there's this one scene in particular where she's doing her podcast show, which usually spreads false propaganda, and she's forced to spread false propaganda again, but this time it's about something she cares about. And basically her church was, destroyed, and the people there were killed, including that father figure. And the false propaganda comes in where the explanation for them doing this is because it was a place ran by Starlighters, the people that, Vought hate. And Valerie Curry does a great job of displaying Firecracker's emotions of mentally breaking down while keeping a straight face. You could see the hesitation in her voice. You could really feel bad for her, even though she's an antagonist of the show. You could really feel bad for her because those are people she cared about. That was a place where she grew up during her childhood. And, that place and those people are what makes Firecracker herself. And what makes her is being basically taken away by her job or by corporation. So she does a really great job displaying that. So I really like that part of the episode. And throughout the rest of the episode too, we also get perspectives on Black Noir and Deep and Sister Sage and Soldier Boy and Homelander, and even the boys a little bit, right? Like I said before, all of their events take place after that meeting with Homelander and Vought. Now, the only other important event is Sister Sage's point of view of things. So she's basically talking to Ashley in her office, or talking to the tumor in the back of Ashley's mind, trying to get her to, help her rebel against Homelander or betray him from the inside. And, regular Ashley is against this because she's also scared, just how Firecracker is scared of Homelander killing her. But the tumor Ashley doesn't mind doing this. And Sage basically just comes up with a strategic plan for Ashley just to loosen her up with some alcohol and remind her that she really can be brave if she wanted to, and all of that stuff. Now, I say this is important because this is where we get Sister Sage's plan. And that plan is just to basically have everybody kill each other or wipe each other out. So have the boys wipe out Vought or the Seven, and then still release the soup killing virus anyway, while she goes to hide elsewhere in the world. And she could just be at peace while she reads all of her books alone, without ever worrying about anybody like Homelander bothering her ever again. Yeah. Now, I really hope this isn't the full plan. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt that she's lying to Ashley just to get her to trust her a little bit, just to get her to rebel, because she needs to use Ashley and her mind reading powers for something. We just don't know what exactly yet. You know, she's kind of trying to use everybody at Vought as chess pieces because she sees them as pawns. She's the queen and everybody else are pawns in her big giant game of chess for world destruction, let's say. And I really hope this isn't the plan, and I will be disappointed if it is, because Sage had plenty of chances to quit Vought. The first time she met Homelander at her house, he basically was about to walk out on her because she wasn't taking him seriously, and then she convinced him to stay and listen to her and hire her. The second time was towards the end of season 4, where Homelander basically crashes out and fires Sister Sage, and then when it looks like he's losing everything, she comes back to Homelander and helps him, you know, control the president. So my thing is, for Sister Sage, if she really wanted to be left alone, she could have had that. Yet she kept coming back to Vought. So that's where I'm saying I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt and saying that she's just lying to Ashley just to get Ashley to be one of her pawns. So yeah, that Sister Sage segment is the other 5% of the 10% of importance for this episode that moves the season and plot forward. Now we have the filler, okay? The filler. So filler number 1 is the beef with Black Noir and the Deep. Now, they were already beefing with each other because in the previous episode, the Deep stole the spotlight from Black Noir when it came to kidnapping Stan Edgar for Homelander, because the Deep just wanted those cool points really bad. So they were already beefing with each other, or he was beefing towards the Deep with that. And the rivalry basically intensifies because the Deep discovers that Black Noir is trying to be an actor to go on Broadway or to take his acting career into bigger places, similar to how the original Black Noir was trying to be an actor in the movie, but his teammate was hating on him. Now, just like the old Black Noir, this Black Noir has the Deep hating on his success. And the Deep basically assassinates that play director by using an electric eel to eat the guy's insides while he's sitting on the toilet. Yeah, I didn't even know electric eels can fit in the toilet. I thought he would have used piranhas, but I guess electric eels do. So that's a new fear unlocked: electric eels eating you alive while you're taking a dump. And after Black Noir finds this out, he argues with the Deep, and the Deep ends the argument by basically blackmailing him. But you would think that, you know, Black Noir will put up more of a fight, like a physical fight, but nothing happens. They kind of go back to the status they were in the previous episode, where the Deep got one over on Black Noir, because remember, he kidnapped Stan Edgar instead of Black Noir taking the credit, and now here he killed any chance of Black Noir succeeding in Broadway, making him the one on top once again. So in my eyes, that means there's no progression, there's no plot forward. I understand they wanted to get that rivalry with Black Noir and the Deep, but we already had that because of the whole Stan Edgar situation. You could literally take out the play Broadway storyline, and it doesn't change the episode one bit, really. You could have just had them argue over the Stan Edgar thing, and then you could have the Deep try to blackmail Black Noir that way, but whatever. So, filler number 2 is with Homelander and Soulja Boy, and they interrogate Edgar, and he tells them to go to LA for a possible location of the V1 serum. Now, Mr. Marathon is the only person that can know where the serum is, and he is a former member of the Seven before he was replaced by A-Train. And this segment felt like a big waste, because this was really just an excuse to reunite the Supernatural brothers, because, you know, the Soulja Boy actor and the Marathon Man actor both are brothers in the Supernatural show. So it felt like the writers just wanted to get them on screen together for the first time in decades, and they didn't know what else to write after that. And you could also tell this because they have a table on the side of celebrities such as Seth Rogen and a bunch of his friends that are also big celebrities just there for no reason. They don't really serve any plot or purpose to the story. They're kind of just a cameo fest. That whole segment with Soulja Boy and Homelander is just a big cameo fest. And they have this cool character named Mal Chemical, which is a guy from the comics, but in the show they wasted him here. He was pretty evil in the comic, much more powerful in the comic too, but in the show they just kind of waste him here. Again, one of those pointless celebrity friends at that table as a cameo fest. I think he was also on Supernatural at one point. So it was just basically a big Supernatural reunion plus other cameos. But eventually they find out that the V1 isn't there. Another, suit took it, as we were already told this in the previous episode. Now, I know that Homelander and Soulja Boy didn't know that another suit took it, but it still feels like filler because the audience is basically being told something that we knew last week already. So this doesn't really progress anything forward other than having a Supernatural family reunion with a bunch of death in it. So I'm not gonna say you could take out the scene and it won't change anything. You do need this segment, but you could take out those cameo characters that were hanging out with Seth Rogen and nothing will change. And we also cut to the boys group in this episode with Butcher and everybody, but we kind of do it from the perspective of Terror, their pet dog. And we get this fantasy from Terror's perspective about Homelander letting the dog hump him and everything. It's kind of weird. It's supposed to be funny, but it's kind of weird placing it on the third to last episode of the final season of your show. Yeah, but the boys, they're basically just static characters. They don't change or progress the story further. They're sitting around talking about the same thing they've been talking about the whole season. About how Frenchie and Kimiko wants different things. MM is telling Butcher about how the world is on fire and in hell and that he doesn't care about his life anymore. And Butcher is just basically agreeing with him because he's dead inside, both figuratively and literally. We also get the same argument with Huey and Butcher of Huey wanting to save every single body and Butcher just telling him to be realistic and that not everybody can be saved, as he should already know from his experience at the Starlighters camp, where he tried to save the one girl and got her killed because he wasn't focused on the bigger mission. So basically, you could have cut out the boy segment of this episode and nothing would have changed. You see the pattern here? Now cutting back to the good parts of the episode, which is with Firecracker, Homelander finds out from Soulja Boy that she's had an affair with his father basically, and he's not mad about that, he's mad about the pillow talk, and the pillow talk includes her not believing in Homelander, her having doubts about letting him be America's #1 god. And she tries to lie her way out of it, but he doesn't buy it, and he actually tries to spare her life. He just tells her to, and he actually tries to spare her life. He tells her to pack her things and go. And instead of going, she just stays behind and keeps talking, trying to persuade him that he's her #1 and everything. And unfortunately, that causes her death. So the firecracker has been cracked and will no longer fire up, if that makes sense. Now, she should have just quit while she was ahead, because Homelander doesn't always offer you mercy like that. He doesn't always offer you to just leave his presence after you've made him really mad or betrayed him. But having Homelander kill her this way just goes back to the idea that he was given by the angel he saw a few episodes ago of killing those who don't believe in you, no matter who it is, no matter how close they were to you. So yeah, that's also a part of the 10% of importance that happens in this episode. Overall, I give this episode a 5 out of 10, and that's being really generous. Like I said, a lot of it feels like 90% filler and only 10% of important things. And the important things are just with Firecracker and Sister Sage, and a little bit of Firecracker and Homelander at the end. But you could have cut out a major portion of a lot of the scenes in this episode, and it wouldn't have changed anything. Especially with Butcher's group, you could have cut that out completely and nothing would have changed. A lot of the characters in this episode don't move on from where they were 2, maybe 3 episodes ago, which is jarring because this is episode 5 out of 8 in the season finale, and that's why it feels like a filler. We can't have these streaming shows on these streaming services be an hour long each episode, and there's only like 6 or 8 episodes, and then you have filler in between in the middle. In my opinion, if you don't have an idea, don't make the episode. I really felt like the writers ran out of ideas here, and that's why they added a bunch of unnecessary fluff to fill in the gaps. It's kind of like a kid imagining a cool fight scene for a story he made up, and he has the fight scenes down, he has the action scenes down, but he doesn't know how to connect the fight scenes together from point A to point B narratively. So hopefully in episode 6 they can lock in, we can have a plot again that's not filler, or that doesn't have a slice of life feeling that this episode had, and we could get some good stuff. So I still have faith in them. Like I said, this wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but I do recognize filler when I see it. And just because 2 big things or 2 big important things happen and a bunch of fluffiness doesn't mean that it's not filler. So that's going to be about it for this review. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below if you already saw it. And also, like always, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can know when I make more videos. And I'll see you on the next one with hopefully a better episode of The Boys.